Good afternoon, everybody. Curtis and I wanted to come to you and just kind of give you an update, state of the company, basically, as we go through COVID-19 and working remotely and all the different challenges that we've had. Today is Wednesday, April 22nd, and we just kind of wanted to give you an update. So the first thing that we want to talk about is just really the changes that we've had to the organization. One of the things that we've done is we've started working remotely. You want to talk a little bit about how that came about and kind of where we are with that?
Yeah, the best thing when Michelle talks about changes within the company is that we've not laid anybody off. There's no changes to personnel. The changes there's been both changes in the office and there's been changes out in the field. So we're an essential business, and on the field teams, basically everybody's been provided masks. We've got a couple of different kinds of masks. They were extremely hard to get, and everybody has the hand sanitizer. We're getting that from a distillery out of Clarksville, Tennessee, and those changes have been made there, working 6 feet apart on the roof. So there's a lot of changes that have happened out with the field teams. But in the office staff, there's been a lot of changes because we went and we started working remotely 5 weeks ago. And the changes that have been made have been phenomenal. We found a lot of the weaknesses. I actually had sent out a Slack message to all of the office team and said, if you were the owner of the company, what would you be doing different this time? And this was 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And most of the office staff had responded back and said they wouldn't be doing anything different, that our communication is 10 times to 100 times greater now than it was before. And the changes that have happened was that every single morning, the leadership team has a Zoom call with the entire team that they are over. And then in the afternoons, Michelle is having a Zoom call with every individual leadership team for 1 hour apiece. So we're able to find the weaknesses within our policies, within some of the chain of command. If you say we're not really big on chain of command, but so it's been very good. Both, I would say that all 210 employees have went through a major change in the last 5 weeks.
And we've tried to do our part to make sure that we're over communicating, and that's part of those Zoom calls. We found that, communication is key right now, and just really making sure that there's some sort of face-to-face, and Zoom has helped with that a lot. And we're trying to monitor the situation closely to decide what happens in the future, once we start to be able to open back up. What does our office look like? What does a day-to-day look like? What can we take from this working remotely and bringing it into working in the office? So we're really trying to figure out what that's going to look like in the future as well. What about the strength of the company? Rackley, we're fortunate, and we've got work, but what about the strength of Rackley do you want to kind of portray to everybody? What is it that you want to share?
Well, I think everybody on the team already knew that we were extremely strong as a company. Our brand is extremely strong. Some of the things that, or some of the advice that we got during this time was to do a TV commercial. So we now have a commercial on Fox 17 here locally. We continue to bid projects. We've actually seen an uptick in bidding both projects on the production side and service projects. We've seen an uptick in backlog. So we're extremely confident that we're not going to see a slowdown in the immediate future. We'll still monitor the situation for 3 months, 6 months out, but the next 3 months is very, very positive.
Let's talk about the Rackley family. We have been fortunate. We've had a few employees that have had symptoms, but all have tested negative for COVID, which we are very thankful for. And as of today, we've had no confirmed cases of COVID within Rackley. And I don't want to be political, and I think you can go either way with what's going on with the state of Tennessee. But what we are seeing is that a majority of the state will open in some form or fashion May 1st. And our focus has nothing to do with the political climate. Our focus has nothing to do with what the stay at home or or go back to work orders are. Our main focus is to make sure that the Rackley team is successful, is safe, and is healthy. And one of the conversations that we had in the beginning of this, when really COVID started to ramp up and we were trying to decide what we were going to do with all the different businesses, was, what does that look like for our employees? So can you talk a little bit about kind of our decision from the beginning when it came to layoffs?
Yeah, I want to go back just a little bit on the sickness. So we've had 2 employees that actually were sick, and we sent them home for 2 weeks. They did their testing, both came back negative, and then we had a family member where their son was running some symptoms, and we sent him home, and then 3 days later we found out that he wasn't positive. So we've been very fortunate. I know that there's been a lot of worry out there. What was your question? I'm sorry.
So what was our stance on layoffs?
So when we met on the Monday, the very first Monday after when things started shutting down, and we decided right then and there that we were not going to lay anybody off. It's not who we were. I've actually have never laid anybody off in my whole entire career, so it's kind of like it wasn't going to happen on this as well. We've invested a lot of time, effort, and money back into our company over the last 10 years. And of course, it was not to ever prepare for anything like this, but with that preparation, this happened and we were able to do what we needed to do. So that's the fortunate side of things.
So we've seen a lot of businesses shut their doors. We've seen a lot of businesses have layoffs. We've seen a lot of businesses struggle. What do you think that we've done differently that's allowed us the opportunity to be where we are today?
Well, fortunately, we're an essential business. Okay, so that helps us. It definitely takes a little bit of stress or pressure off. But even if we had been shut down for 4 weeks or 5 weeks, we still wouldn't have laid any employees off. So to get back to your question, we have a set of core values. I believe that we have some of the best technology out there in the roofing world, construction world, that has prepared us to be able to be very accurate, precise in reporting. We know our numbers. We have scorecards that we pretty much live by. We meet every Friday at 8:30 a.m. till 10 a.m. and this has been going on for 3 years now. So there's no guessing within our company of where we're at or anything. We know weekly where we stand as a company. But EOS, we implemented a program called EOS, Entrepreneur Operating System, back in January of 2017, and that has helped us significantly as a company and as a leadership team, and it's helping us throughout the entire company. I think that you probably should say some on that.
Well, I think to technology, we already were kind of advanced within the roofing industry for some of our technologies that we use. And right now what we're doing is really drilling down and seeing what technologies are we able to take advantage of right now, what technologies can we get rid of, because now they're not really technologies, they're just kind of the older way of doing things. And then also what's out there that we're not using that we can be more efficient with. So we are looking at that in ways to become even more advanced than what we are right now. And then with entrepreneurial operating system, that is something that, I don't know that we could be where we are today without. The scorecards and kind of, the reporting that we do, that's really kept us on task and on track. We find problems before they become big problems for the most part. And that's helped us out a lot. And having daily meetings has been really important because we get to talk about issues before they become serious. The other thing I think that makes a difference for us in general is your positive attitude. And I think that's something that has kind of passed through the company that we see is your energy, but really just your positivity and how you don't allow negativity to really infiltrate our company. So do you want to talk a little bit about positivity?
Well, I'm a big believer that both positive and negative are contagious. And I don't personally like to be around negative people. So I'm extremely positive. I surround myself with positive people. If there's negative people that I'm around, I'm immediately gone and really don't associate with those people anymore. I was taught very young that if you want to be a negative person, you're probably not going to be a happy person. And I'm a pretty happy person, and I try to make sure that when there is negative that I hear with individuals in our company, I'm probably the first to call it out. And it's not calling out them, it's just calling out the behaviors that is very contagious, and the next thing you know, it can lead to bad things. So even though I'm positive, I still think about what bad can happen, but that's not going to be ever portrayed in anything that comes out of my mouth. It might be a list on paper to prepare, but that's just not going to be talked about.
And I think that we're all in a situation right now where something is stressful, whether it's, being, shelter in place, or being on a roof, or, just the stresses of everyday work life, whatever. We're all in a stressful situation right now. So to add negativity on top of that can sometimes make it even harder. So having a positive attitude can help kind of relieve some of that stress as well.
Well, yeah, and it's very like within a culture of Rackley roofing, or just in the culture of roofing in general, you have office people, you have field people. So a lot of times the office people don't really understand what the field people do. The field people don't understand what the office people do. So there's negativity that kind of like, well, they do this, not knowing that they have no idea what that person's doing, so they shouldn't be negative about any of those situations.
Right.
So I think I was very fortunate to grow up in the field, so I kind of understand the field side and I understand the office side. So it's something that people will bounce off me periodically of, hey, how do I handle this? And even though I've lived in both worlds, that you're still wrong 80% of the time, unless you actually go and talk to the person and ask what's really bothering.
Right.
Because when you assume, you're wrong.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that we've discovered several years ago, that you can't assume anything. You've got to know what really is the bottom line to something. Mm-hmm. So
to kind of wrap up, the future of Rackley, it's something that we talk about consistently with the leadership team on a long-term scale, but any thoughts on the future of Rackley on a short-term scale? While we're still dealing with this virus, we're still dealing with kind of the stresses of life.
Yeah, I mean, the future, we're still going to operate what our target is. We set a 10-year target 7 years ago. 3 years ago. We still have 7 years left on the target, and that's what we're planning on doing. I was actually at the Murfreesboro office last Saturday. It's still being built out. We're still operating with that. We're still planning on opening up the new offices, we're not going to look backwards. We're going to actually, we're going to become better out of this. And I honestly feel that way, or I wouldn't be saying it. I just think that we're going to keep doing what we do. We have a set of, we'll stop it there.
So let's talk about core values for a minute, because I think that that's kind of a good way to end it. I think that's where you were headed. So one of the things that we've done with the office staff, but I think that it's also important for us to bring to the field staff, is to point out when you see someone exemplifying one of our core values, and share that with others, because the more that you share that, the more that people start to do those sorts of things. And it's something that we do in our leadership team meeting every week. And the core values, which most of you should know, the first one's humble, and that means that you don't think of yourself as better than any other teammate, and you're willing to help another teammate out. The next one is hungry, and that means that you have passion for what you do, that you enjoy your work most of the time, and that you really come to work with a good attitude and a strong work ethic. Smart means not it does mean interpersonally smart. It means that you're not intellectually smart, but that you're interpersonally smart, that you understand a group of people and the dynamics there, and how to create a positive outcome from that. Do you want to talk about innovative?
Innovative for us means that to think outside the box. But although we know that there's a lot of people that don't know how to think outside the box, which is fine, but always be open to change. For us, it means that we don't want somebody 20 years sitting in the same role. And if you're sitting in the same role 20 years, it's probably because you weren't open to change.
What about accountable?
Accountable is simple. Do what you say you're going to do. And that's something that I'm extremely happy with everybody.
Yeah. And then customer focus.
Customer focused is the customer is always number one, but not at the expense of you, the employees. And what that basically refers to for us, or what in my mind, is that, a client's upset, they cuss out you out in the field, or they cuss out you on the phone in the office, and you handle yourself with the core value of smart. Always have a positive outcome when you're dealing with things, and you bring it to the leadership team and say, hey man, this client just cussed me out. We'll terminate the client. But if you don't follow the core value of smart and you cuss them out, you've terminated yourself and the client remains on. So it's kind of like one of those, client's always number one, but not at the expense of us, the employees.
And right now is really a great time to share some of that as you see it, because we are, separated. So if you happen to see or hear of somebody that's done a great job in one of those avenues, in one of those core values, share it with our leadership team. We'd love to hear the stories. We love sharing that kind of stuff, and we'll share it out and shout it out to everybody. But just keep that in mind, and stay safe, stay healthy, and thank you for all that you do. We wouldn't be here without every single one of you. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Mwah.